party animals. Today we are going to work on an Audi, and this is the first time I've ever done the timing on one of these, and I didn't have all the special tools for doing it, but I'm going to show you guys some of the tricks, and I know this is done right. Obviously, I won't post the video if it's not. If this video is helpful, please consider subscribing, clicking the notifications, sharing them videos, and giving me a sweet old thumbs up. If you're a video searcher, which means you skip to the down the round of the videos, and my video helps you out, at nighttime when you're sleeping, put on some of my sweet Clayway playlist, turn the volume down, let them suckers play on through. If I help you out, send me them nice comments, and remember, if anyone else can do it, I promise you, you can do it too. It's not always about the how. There's a lot to do with the why. So let's get going on this thing. Remember, if you ever need an engine, look me up down here at Accurate Engines in Grand Rapids, Michigan. We offer nationwide shipping, 100-mile free pickup, and generally shipping is included, just so you know. We're also the only channel on YouTube that fixes cars like these to give them away to needy families. You can check down in the description below. Let's hit it. Okay, so I have the timing set. I'm going to take this timing off, and I'm going to show you the little nuances of doing this. And for you amateur type people, obviously I'm an amateur at doing this. It is the way that I did it might make it a little bit simpler for you guys. I want to point out some things. When you get it correct, you will not have very much deflection on these belts at all, meaning they will not be loose. In here, the only place that's going to be loose right now is this area right here, because I haven't pulled the pin on the tensioner, and this area right here, which has about 2 to 3 inches of deflection, and that's because I haven't tightened this up yet. Okay, so I wanted to show you folks exactly how this works. So when you insert your pin into the side of here, and you have your crank in the proper position, that pin is going to go inside this locator right here and holds your engine from turning. This is the reason that with the cam holders and this pin, it doesn't matter, because everything has to be lined up properly. This is what's called the crank holder, and you have to put this in prior to removing your timing belt, so you hold the crank in the proper position. Now this goes up here on the engine block and holds the crank. Right up inside there, there's a plug that you remove right there. You'll see the pin sticking out right here. You remove that plug. Now I took the bolts out of that. They say you don't have to do that. You definitely do not have to remove that, but I took the bolts out of it and pushed it off to the way to get my crank cert in there. Now before you install that, I'm going to show you what you do to get it to where it needs to be. Okay, so one of the first things that we're going to do after we've got the front end off of this thing, it's not that hard. You do not need to remove the intake. I'm doing a lot of different work to this vehicle. Is we're going to move the engine until these back 3 cam lobes are pointed at this cylinder right here, and we can get our tool inside there. On my engine, the timing belt is installed properly. Do not turn the engine if your timing belt is broken. You will bend more valves. We're looking for these ones right here to be pointed up at the cylinder, and then that allows our tool to fit onto here. If it doesn't, we move it a little bit. So it won't seat down on there properly. It's not all the way in the channels. So we're just going to move it back just a little bit. Now you're supposed to move the engine clockwise, and I know that, but I think this will be okay for the video. So we'll let it go down inside there. And then we are going to take this bolt and we're going to tighten that up. And we're going to make sure it's really snug. So we're actually going to use a wrench and tighten that up properly. And when you do that, it pushes it down inside there and locks it in underneath there and holds your cams really tight. You're going to do that on both sides. When you install this one, you're going to do the same thing. Tighten it down, move it a little bit if necessary to get it to lock down properly. Now is the time we can insert the plug on the side of the engine block to hold the crank. Up inside here, you're going to have this plug that's with an 8mm. I believe these two were 6mm bolts that were holding this on. I pushed it up out of the way, and then that allows me to remove this plug right here and insert my tool inside there. Now I want to say something else. These right here are about $40 to $50 on the internet, Amazon, eBay, such and such. You're going to need these. The way I got mine, I went down to a local shop. I gave the guy a $100 deposit, and I paid him 20 bucks, and he let me borrow them. So I gave him 120 bucks. These are crucial. You cannot put vice grips down in here to hold these cams. On a lot of engines that we do, we can do that. But in this situation, because of the timing of the engine, it is necessary to have these installed and have them locked. I actually tightened these down with the 8mm ratchet that was needed. So they're tight and they're not moving on here. They're also down inside there, and you can kind of see a little bit of a gap right there, but they're installed properly. I marked my timing before I took my timing belt off, and these were used to be parallel to one another. So this tells me that the old timing belt was definitely stretched and not functioning properly. And as you can tell from looking at that timing belt, this thing was squadooshed. So it doesn't surprise me that my marks are off, but I know that they're correct because I have my cam holders in there and it's right. So now I'm going to pull this belt off here and I'm going to show you the little nuances about getting this thing correct. I marked my crank even though it's not necessary, but installing the timing belt on the crank pulley is super simple. Now you'll notice that I left off the tensioner assembly. I'm going to take the belt, and I've got it on the crank right here, and I'm going to leave a little bit of slack in it. I'm not going to try to pull it super tight because it's not necessary at this point. So I have quite a bit of deflection in there right there. Then I'm going to pull it around to here, and this is where the important part comes. I'm going to pull this way. Then I'm going to take this and just make sure that I can pull it tight. Now I don't have hardly any deflection right here. Then I'm going to take the belt and I'm going to run it around, keeping it tight, pulling it tight with my hand, and I'm going to run it around the water pump right here. And I'm going to, once again, I'm going to pull it tight up underneath here, making sure that I don't have any deflection there. Then I'm going to run it underneath this idler, keeping my thumb right here, and then pulling it tight right here. Now I'm going to make sure that this, if it has any play in it, I'm going to pull it towards there, and that should fit in there good. Now I double check with these hands, then I continue on to my next one, holding it tight and keeping it tight right there. Then I'm going to come around here. Now this one, I know moves just a little bit. I don't know if it's supposed to, but it does on mine. So I'm going to make sure that I keep it tight. And I'm going to pull it down and set it on my gears. Now I don't have any deflection in there once again. There's next to no deflection whatsoever. So then, making sure that it stays tight, looking down inside here to make sure it's locked inside the channels. I'm going to go back over. Now, like I said, I don't have my tensioner assembly in there, but I'm going to pull up on this and then I'm going to double check. Make sure I don't have any deflection in any of my belts. Make sure I have a little bit there, and I have a little bit there. double checking to make sure it's on all of my pulleys. I am going to take my tensioner assembly and I'm going to put in the one screw basically at the 9 or 10 o'clock position right here. I'm going to screw it in a little bit. Then I'm going to take it like this. Now, one thing that I'll let you know, if this tensioner, these bolts, do not fit in here easily, it's not right, and you need to go back and redo it. But I know this is right, because it's like the 5th time I've done it. So now, I will install my bolts. Now that we've got it installed properly, we've got to turn these two little dots right here, and I've just got these industrial size, I don't have the right tool, so I've got these industrial size snap ring pliers from the old Harbor Freight. I'm going to turn it around like this, because this isn't the right tool, it's gonna want to turn on me. And I'm going to turn it to where the pliers and these dots are right where they're supposed to be, and they're pointed with the water pump just like this. Then I can tighten down the set screw and cinch it in. Now that's got my belt tight. These moved a little bit, so I'm going to loosen it up and put it back to where it's supposed to be, because I know it turned a little bit when I moved it. I'm going to pull my pen, and then my deflection is gone on both sides of my belt, and I can also take my screwdriver, give it a little pull up like this, make sure my plunger comes out a little bit. And I've got everything set. So now I can remove my clamps and my crank bolt, and we can roll over the engine. Practice makes absolutely perfect. So I'm going to double check my deflection everywhere, make sure everything's tight. Everything seems really nice. So I've got my bolt out of there, and I took this and gave it a little pop that way, and it loosened up, so I should be able to get it out now. At least that's the hopes. There's one. Let's see if I can get the other side out. There's two. Now we can spin our engine over and make sure our adjuster comes up. So we'll give it what we think is about 2 revolutions. I've got my spark plugs removed, so it makes it pretty easy for me. And we'll double check our deflection. Everything seems good. Our tensioner's up. Our dots are pointed up parallel with the water pump housing. So that's pretty much it. Hopefully I made that seem a little bit simpler for you folks if you were struggling with it. Now there's a dozen reasons I didn't actually take these off and do this. One, because when you go to pop these clips out of here, they could fling off into oblivion and then they're gone. Two, what about if when I go to take these apart, they don't seal up properly? Then I have to take the covers off and add extra work for me. And to be perfectly honest with you, to get this clip back inside here, the first time took me almost as long as it did for me to put the timing belt on. I think I had the timing belt down to about a minute, maybe a minute and a half actually installing it. And if I would have loosened up all the cams and everything else, that would have added extra time to my job, and I didn't really want to do that. And I realized how the engine actually worked, and it wasn't necessary for me to remove them, so I didn't, even though I'm somewhat proficient at doing it. Just in case you wanted to see, there's no notches, keyways, or anything on this cam. In the back, it floats on here. That's why it's not necessary to remove that. As you can see, the car is out running and driving excellent. So, if this video was helpful, please consider subscribing, clicking the notification, sharing my videos, give me them sweet old thumbs up. If you're local to Grand Rapids, Michigan, look me up down here at Accurate Engines, back up there. If you like what we do on the channel where we give away the automobiles, you're more than welcome to donate to that. Look down in the description. If you want to submit an entry for someone that you think deserves a good automobile, it's not going to be new. It's going to be like this stuff back here, you know. But a good mechanical automobile, submit them to the email down below. If you're local, right now, we're not taking them all across the country yet, but hopefully we can do that in the future. That would be super neat. Remember, if anyone else can do it, I promise you, you can do it too. It's not always about the how, it's also about the why you're doing something. God bless you folks. Have the best of days.